Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the situation report or the SITREP or the summary for the day of 993 for the 12th of November. During the frontline changes report, which I've published around 12 hours ago as per this recording, the Kherson Oblast total area was wrong. Yeah, so I blame Bing. Bing gave me a quick answer which is wrong. So actually it's the Russians have captured 81.39%. So if you like all these numbers things, check out the frontline changes report. I cover the areas captured for the past 2-3 days. So that's what it is. So I'm gonna hide this because it's not part of the situation report. So we're gonna start off with the Kursk front. At the Kursk front, Russian forces have continued their counteroffensive. Fighting continued to be reported at Leonidovo, Novoivanovka, Zelenishai, Darino, Nikolaevo Darino. They also attacked at Crimea Noe, Malaya Luknia. Ukrainian forces counterattacked at Leonidovo, Novoivanovka, Darino, Nikolaevo Darino, and Novaya Sorokina. So this is the current situation. There is frontline changes happened over in Zelenishai. Or Shliak, I don't know how to pronounce this, Shliak, Zeleny Shliak, where Russian forces geolocated, moving out of the forest, and then immediately get hit by Ukrainian drones and whatnot. So, but that also confirmed that the Russians have captured Zeleny Shliak and the forest within here. So they have become elves. So, this is the frontline change around here. So, pretty significant. Ukrainian forces were geolocated along the road, hit by FPV drones. So clearly shows you that the front line is very close. The two geolocations is just 1.6 kilometers apart. So Ukrainians are definitely actively trying to defend whatever they can in this area here. So that's the situation over in this area. There's also FPV drone strike at Svetliklovo, which is probably where the Ukrainian advanced positions is. So in the northern area here, as per the front line have changed, Ukrainian forces is probably counterattacking in this direction, and the Russians are attacking southward. So this is Novaya Storokina, right? Yeah, correct. So Russians are attacking towards Malaya Luknia. So there is some kind of exchange, in this area here. So let's see how this continues to develop. What is interesting to me is the fighting at Crimea Noe. According to Ryba, the pro-Russian source reported Russians hitting Ukrainian positions, Ukrainian vehicles around this area here, as the Russians are trying to push out from this area. So that's all from this northern and western flank. In the southern flank, we have more news. So first thing first was the geolocation of Russian forces in the south in Kurakhove. This confirmed Russian forces have advanced, most likely from the southward from the north, because this was the last geolocated area. Based on the Russian mapping have claimed that entire eastern part of Kurakhove is now captured by the Russian forces based on this geolocation. For me, I didn't map it in this way. I map it from the north to south due to the previous geolocation. So it's a bit of a different interpretation of how the Russians have advanced. So we shall see how this develop. Then there is more news from the pro-Russian source. Actually, I should just leave this here. I should zoom in. Zoom in. Okay. So, over in the northern part of this sector, just west of Fanasievka, Russian forces have also crossed the river, the Svel River, in the southwest of Fanasievka, with Russian forces now attacking through the forest in this area here. Most likely they are going in the direction of Kurilovka, and of course also securing the western flank of Fanasievka. So this is currently happening. So this incursion around here looks like it is really strategically important, with the Russian forces able to attack in doing flanking operations against the Ukrainian forces. And I have suspicion that the Ukrainians may not have sufficient amount of troops in this sector, because this is not the prime sector the Ukrainians are defending. It's the western flank that is where the pressure is the most, and here is very very rural. There's a lot of forest, very, very countryside. So, which is possibly why, maybe heavy vehicles are a bit harder to operate in this area here. So we shall see how this continue to develop. But if all these claims are true, then the Russians have really indeed have captured a massive amount of grounds. The distance going up is around 1 kilometer, 1.25 kilometer, whereas this change from the front line is around 3 kilometers in length. So it's pretty deep in terms of the capture, if it's true. So we move on from the Kursk front. Over at the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, Russian forces continue their harassment across the entire border of Russia and Ukraine, with fighting reported at Kozacha, Lopan, Ibitske, Voschansk, as well as Boshkovo. Voschansk is the only one that is mentioned by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The rest is all the Russian Defense Ministry's claim. So tentatively, still not full-fledged offensive, but there is a possibility that the Russians are preparing for the grounds for a major Kharkiv offensive. Again, Kharkiv offensive part 2, where they probably will just expand the buffer. I still don't believe they're going to go for the city yet, but definitely expanding the buffer could be a high possibility to put further pressure on the Ukrainians to divert more resources and attention from all the other front lines. Because Kharkiv is way more important to the Ukrainians than the Donbass, actually. Yeah, Kharkiv is way more important than the Donbass to the Ukrainians. At least that's the kind of perception that I get, looking at how they operate and the kind of things that they say. Over the Kupiansk front, there is a lot of changes in terms of the front line due to the Ukrainian update of the mapping around here. Russian forces have expanded control, capturing all of the forests west of Liman Pershi. However, the Ukrainians returned to claim that they have control back at Sinkivka, ignoring invalidating previous Russian presence due to geolocation. So there is always this possibility that the Russians lost a position with the Ukrainians counterattacking successfully, although that does not answer the question on how there is fighting reported at Kusherivka or near Kupiansk, according to the Russian Defense Ministry's report. So we shall continue to monitor. This is going to be just a claim, not a full capture. And Ukrainians also disclaim, showing that the Russians have straightened the front line at Sinkivka and south of Vishana, with the Russian forces expanding control, capturing another 3 line over in this sector. So otherwise, this is the Kupiansk front. There's nothing else around the rest of the Kupiansk front. Moving further south from this position, over the Pischany front. At the Pischany front, the Russian forces have expanded control around Koleniskivka, almost fully capturing it. Fighting is reported at Kuliakivka and Zarizove. Fighting is also reported at Lozova. So information is coming from the Ukrainian Defense Ministry mostly. The frontline change at Koleniskivka is reported by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, reporting that the Russians have basically captured all of these forests around Koleniskivka. So this would actually give the Russians a good hiding spot and a good place to gather as a foothold to conduct further operations further up north towards Novoosinovo. So, or Klushkivka, towards Klushkivka, they can actually continue to attack with using this forest as a good foundation. So, let's continue to watch and see how this continue to operate. Moving further south, at the Borova front, Russian forces attack at Nadia, but that's all. There's no fighting reported at Petrov-Travneve, and that's all. Moving further south to the south Svetove front, maybe I should call this another name. Yeah, let's see. Not sure. So anyway, at the south Svetove front, Russian forces attack at Kurakhove as well as Novomihailivka. So nothing special about this. We have this almost daily. And then we move to Kremina front. At the Kremina front, shelling is reported at Liman. There is fighting reported at Yampolovka and Torske. But that's about it. Not much details regarding all these actions. Over at the Sivers front, fighting is reported over at Verkhamokanyamske. So this is the only one that is being reported at this front line. Nothing else around here. Sloviansk was reportedly shelled, but no, I didn't indicate because it's way too far. It's pretty not important. Over at the Bakhmut front, there is a shelling reported at Mykolaiv. Mykolaiv was mentioned by the Russian Defense Ministry. I tried to find another Mykolaiv elsewhere, where the Yoke group of forces may be operating, but I think this is the one. This is the closest one to any front line, and fighting is reported in the direction of Petechny. So that's all. And we move to the New York front. At the New York front, the fighting primarily still remains at Toretsk, as well as towards Skibinivka. So that's all that we have. The fog of war has descended back into this New York front. We don't really have much information. A lot of things remains to be pretty weird, very unclear. So we will continue to monitor the situation in this sector. Over in the Pokrovsk front, at the Pokrov sector, the Russian forces are fighting at Mariulyubivka, Promin, as well as Lisivka. There is some frontline changes over in the north of Novokhodivka, where Ukrainian forces was reportedly attacking in this area, but they hit some mines. So they were attacking southward, hitting minefields. But that also changed the front line a bit, because that means the Russians are not there. But the appearance of the front of minefields is interesting, because we haven't seen minefields for quite a bit of time already, because most of the minefields has been overrun, and then deployment of mines becoming more rarer, because maybe the Ukrainians have run out of them, and the Russians are on the offensive, so they don't use it. The fact that the Russians actually mined this area does shows the intention that the Russians are planning to stay in this area for a while. They're not going to push out towards Minograd anytime soon. So this is an important indication where the Russians are going to head next. So we're going to which means that we might expect the Russians to continue to hold this line while they continue to push westward at this moment. So probably to avoid fighting in these two major cities. So let's see how this continue to work out. Over the Selidove region, Russian forces have continued their attack in Kurakhove, Petrivka, Pustinka, Yurievka, as well as Novo-Oleksievka, with frontline changes continue being reported, with the Russians continuing to stretch their elephant trunk towards the north of Pustinka. They have also captured more of Yurievka, capturing more grounds around this area here. The information of the frontline changes is Ukrainian mapping by Deep State UA. So these are all confirmed captures, and fighting is also all reported by the Russian sources and defense ministries. So, but mostly in this area here, it seems like only the Ukrainian Defense Ministry talk about Pistinka. The other one they talk about is Kurakhove. So they're not catching up yet to the action at Petrivka, or maybe there's no fighting at Petrivka. That's also a possibility. Yurievka is only mentioned by Deep State and Ryba, the sources, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry only mentioned Novo-Oleksievka in a general term. So let's continue to watch this action. Russian Defense Ministry mentioned fighting near Ukrainka, which means that the Russians are continuing the push towards Ukrainka at this moment. So you can see, the Russians' attention is going westward. Fighting is also reported at Novo-Dmitrivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So that's all. Over in the North Kurakhove region, fighting is reported at Voznesenka, Novoselidivka, and Ilinka. There is some slight frontline changes in the north of Novoselidivka. Not very important. It's just some very, very slight change. Whereas the Ukrainian mapping at Ilinka shows that the Russians have entered from the main road towards the center of Ilinka, causing some frontline change in this area here. According to the Russian sources, they say that Ilinka is now already mostly captured by the Russian forces. They are doing cleansing operation. So it's a totally different idea of what is happening. So while the Ukrainians insisted that there is still resistance, so let's see how. In the South Kurakhove region, Russian forces continue to expand their control on the west of Kurakhove, whereas in Dane region, based on Russian sources, the Russians have expanded the zone of control around Dane with the capture of a lot of these entrenchments. These are based on Russian information, and with this, the Russians could potentially do a flanking operation an attack from the south towards Kurakhove as well. But there is heavy entrenchment all around here. So, I mean, the Ukrainians could potentially block it. But the fall of this entrenchment, it seems to be really quick if the Russian claims are true. So let's see how this continue to develop. Rumors abound right now. There is some rumors about Kurakhove getting abandoned by the Ukrainian forces right now. But I cannot verify this information tentatively, but there is these rumors about Ukrainians giving up Kurakhove. They are withdrawing, which wouldn't be a lot of a surprise, because if you look at the strategic situation, there is a massive pincer that is going to close in this, and they could defend, but the pincer will start to get closer and closer and closer, particularly over in the Dashny region. This is dangerous because once this road is cut off, then yeah, retreat will be extremely difficult, because this is a main road. This is a main road across Kurakhove. So let's see how this work out. Over the Konstantinivka region, fighting is reported at Antonivka and Yelizavetivka. Surprisingly, Ukrainians are doing a tremendous job at defending Antonivka, and there is still no sign of Russian success at Yelizavetivka. So Ukrainians are definitely doing their best to defend this area here. Over in the Uspenivka sector, at the Uspenivka sector, Russian forces are fighting at Trudove. They are fighting towards Sukiyali, Maximivka, and in the north of Yasna Polyana. So that's the current situation right here. The speed of advance have slowed down seemingly, which means that the Russians may have already touched the next line of defense that the Ukrainians have developed, which might likely be these two tree lines around here, and maybe this as well. So these are the main tree lines that the Ukrainians may be defending. This entire river, the line of settlements along the river. So that is a possibility. So the fight now is going to start to get more difficult, or already becoming more difficult for the Russians. And so we will see what the two sides are made of in this new round of fighting. So there is geolocation of Russian forces in the northeast of Bohofyevlenka. Not important, because the frontline change is already reflected there. And we move to the Velikan Novosilka sector. In this sector, the Russian forces continue to fight in this area here. So this is a new offensive, and the Russians made some advance around the west of Novodarivka. Fighting is reported at Rivnopil, Makarivka, towards Zelenepole, and towards Temerivka. So this offensive is pretty new. This is probably only day two of this offensive, and it have already tremendously slowed down due to the lack of information. But we shall see whether the next 24 hours or 48 hours will give us more information. But if it doesn't give us more information, then maybe the offensive have bogged down pretty quickly. So let's see. Let's see how this continue to play out. And geolocation of Russian forces at Stepove, but not important. And we move into the Zaporizhia front. Fighting is only reported over in that Novodanilivka in the Orikhiv sector. So, but that's all. Nothing particularly special. And over at the Kherson front, fighting is still being reported in the Pridniprovsky direction, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Shelling reported at Okhovka and Mikivsky. And that's it. So this is the summary for the day of 993 for the 12th of November. So press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update. And check out the Frontline Changes report for all the numbers.